Having not sold an asset is among your biggest regrets, you're at the right place. Welcome back to the cosasverdes altcoin crypto trading show, home of altcoin kings, profit pimps, cryptilians, and crypto crackheads, and a bunch of B-Pro nerds, TRIAS nerds, MTV nerds, and a few other types of altcoin nerds out there, Verasity. So I will cover 3 of those coins today, and I'm not going to be talking about fundamentals. If you're new to this channel, I mostly talk about price action. Talking about fundamentals might be up and coming within this channel, so stay tuned for that as well. But usually what I do within these videos is I let you know how I think price will move, and I reserve a lot of sell targets and profit-taking targets for my community, which links to that are down in the description. Not just links to it, but rather links to exact examples, real live examples of what I provided to them in exclusive content, so you can check out, hey, would this be worth my time and money? Down in the description section. No time to waste. Let's get after it. Turn it up to ×2 speed if you happen to need to get through this content faster to go about your fundamental news itching and scratching those itches for getting your news. So here we go. I'm getting really better, a lot better about making myself small and not recording a video and have to record it. So here we go. We are going to start off with MTV. MTV, from the time it was consolidating under this horizontal here, and for newer folks, horizontals are often caused by wicks of day. So I'm on the daily chart. So see above this arrow, you see where my cursor is, day. I'm on the daily chart. Daily or weekly is how you make horizontals. But here you have candle wicks. You have another wick, and on the weekly chart, this might also be a weekly. Nope, this is a daily or a 4-hour. So you have a lot of activity over here where price peaked up to it but could not pass it. So previous resistance will potentially become future support, but in this case it actually maintained resistance, blew past the resistance, and has not used it as support, and it looks like MTV will not come back down to test this as support. So it was just resistance twice. Could this be support in the future if Bitcoin were to come down to 42K? Absolutely, especially if there's an all-time high made, Bitcoin crashed down to 42. This would probably be your target zone for that in the event that Bitcoin, now I honestly don't know if Bitcoin's going to come back down to 42K. I think the idea of this being a trap similar to May is unlikely at this point. So I would feel fairly confident in taking positions in altcoins, including MTV. I'm not saying go buy now. It's been pretty hot. However, even though I would be pretty confident, I typically don't set stops in raging bull markets while trading altcoins because it's not leverage. However, I wouldn't call this a raging bull market. So if you end up taking positions on any of these 3 coins, clearly not based on any financial advice that I'm giving, because I don't give financial advice. I only talk about trading Pokemon cards with MTV and Verasity on them. If you happen to take position based off of educational content in this video, please make sure you're setting your stops, because it is totally I would say it's maybe 20 to 25% possible that this whole move up with Cardano and Ethereum is to bait people into taking in longs before a big down move on Bitcoin. It's still possible, so make sure you're setting your stops, all right? If you're taking positions at all, and I mean anywhere, not financial advice, talking about Pokemon stops. So how much gas does this have left in it? It has quite a bit. So RSI here has no bearish divergence. You just tied the previous high. And in order to have bearish divergence, this point right here needs to be lower than that point as price makes a higher high. So it just tied it. It likely will pass it. So this looks like it has more juice. And I think that MTV is going, I don't think it's going to be stopped by this. It might hang out here for 2 or 3 days, but I bet it happens after it passes it, 2 to 3 days, and another pop, maybe 4 days, something like that. But I think it's going to specifically pass it first and give another pop. For my community, I will give sell targets. I'm not going to provide those here. And so there's got to be something in the chart that is similar. Yes, this actually, exactly, perfect. So what I'm doing here, if I can zoom in and show you a little bit better, is I'm taking price action from right here. Let me take off the EMAs. Naked price here. I'm going to copy and paste these, this what's called a fractal. So it's how price action of Multivac recently moved. And I am going to paste it over there because I think it might behave very similarly, where it breaks out of its all-time high roughly here, makes a little top, comes back down to check it once day, 2 day, and then take off. That's almost, honestly, I'm surprised I found that so fast, but I think that's about how it's ready to move. I think this has more juice, folks. Something like that. I think it's going to pass its all-time high, come back down, hang out a couple of days, then go at least one more little pump. All this is assuming that Bitcoin maintains daily closures above 48,200 roughly. So in any type of altcoin analysis, you need to take into consideration the strength of Bitcoin, the posturing of Bitcoin. And so the analysis would absolutely change. If Bitcoin closed a day below 48.2, then you're going to have more downside targets as opposed to upside targets. Please keep that in mind, which is why you want to set stops if you're taking positions on altcoins in a non-raging bull market. This could be the very beginning of a parabolic move. The first of two waves of a parabolic move for Bitcoin in the whole market. So I also wouldn't be scared to take on positions, and I wouldn't actually suggest something that's already taken off. But just be cautious out there, folks. I don't want folks coming on here saying, oh, you told me this and Bitcoin, went down to 42K. Well, I said this, take stops at least this time, right? So I'm trying to be very cautious with what I'm saying. Yeah, this has more juice, folks. It's that simple. I think roughly this is how price will move. To where it will go, I will maintain that with my Patreon community. Again, links to descriptions of it in the description section, or exact examples. So let's hop over to Veracity. So I earlier was looking at this, drew in the daily 10. So that means I think there's going to be a potential squeeze play. I don't remember drawing this, but if I drew it, that means I think that this needs to regroup before breaking this high, unlike MTV. So let's see why I thought that, or I thought that as a possibility. Yeah, well, actually, I can tell right now. That's how it's moving. it gets a pop and hits up. And really, this is the perfect type of price. Honestly, this price movement is pretty aggressive. This is a pretty big pop. It would have been nice to not go such a big pop, come back down and base on the 10 just like it did here, but it's going to make up for it. It'll probably regroup. So that's why I'm saying that. That's how it's been moving. It's been grouping on this. Plus, this was a big pop. So just naturally, it probably needs to spend time on the 10 just as long as these two sections, or slightly longer after this big pop before another one, mostly due to this pop. Now, an asset can make pops about this big, base, another one of this size, again, base, and just keep going and going and going. But I think that this got a little hot. So let's see if the RSI agrees with me. It might not agree. So what I'm saying means there's a little bit of bearish divergence, and RSI might need to reset slowly or base out of somewhere. So we have a high in RSI here and a lower high here. So if price was higher now than it was on August 23rd, that means you have two strikes of daily bearish divergence, and that is accurate. So current high is much higher. So associated down here on the bottom of the screen where I'm circling, this RSI high down on the daily is lower than this. So price is going up while RSI is going down. That's bearish divergence. A lot of times you can get 2 and 3 and 4 strikes, but regardless of that, as long as the daily RSI, and if you want to know how to set up a chart just like mine, I have links in the description section, I do believe, or you can just simply go to my playlist and look for the library, and then it's the one with the thumbnail that says how TF, or how the F does he set his chart, something to that effect. You'll see it. All right. And so even if you have bearish divergence, you can get a third strike easily, but none of that is quite as powerful in terms of an immediate down move until this RSI goes below the green, green zone here. So you see how it's green from here to here, and black here, and red here. So this is kind of like bearish neutral. This is neutral neutral. This is bullish. So this has a little more juice. So with basing off the 10, what'll probably happen is this is going to end up so you see how the RSI perfectly came up and got rejected 3 times from the bullish control zone before the RSI came off and based off of its. This is actually perfect price movement. This price movement is actually too good. This almost. This is like super classical price movement, actually. Even on the RSI, this is kind of weird. So, but that's what happens when you have a healthy price movement. You have 3 rejections. So the RSI said, okay, I need to come down, regroup. Okay, well, it chose to regroup on the EMA, which is this white line. I believe it's the 12 EMA. It spiked up, came down, broke below its 10 EMA, said, hey, I want to go see where my EMA is. Boom, got rejected. Boom, got rejected. But what happened is it was able to get it back above because it used this previous resistance as future support, like I was saying earlier. And I didn't mean to draw a human organ here. That was by accident. I usually don't do such childish things on my channel, but it just worked out that way almost perfectly on accident. So what is probably going to happen is it might come down and base one more time and give it another try and then finally get rejected. So I would say somewhere around September 16th, if Bitcoin stays healthy, would be the high, it would be the time it might want to start basing or be about done basing and then break out. So I would say by the 19th, perhaps breakout. And does that align with my RSI? No, it does not. It would mean this, and then try it again with the white line coming down like this, and you'd get another pop up here. So the next pop, so the next pop will probably have RSI come into the green zone. It might not come that high up. It might go like this and form, you know, a rough trend line like this. But I think there's going to be another pop, and then it might be out of steam by that point, because I don't think it's going to base too many times off here, get another pop. I think after that pop, it'll come down here, rebase, and you know, slowly rebase and then reset. So what that might look like for price on this asset is, it could go all the way up to this next origin line. I kind of have a hard time believing it will, though. It could. No, that's only 125%. I would say that'd be, I don't like to give sell targets, but I have these origin lines. It could hit that, but I would guess somewhere in between. So I will leave exact profit-taking areas. That would be the very top end, though. And if you do see it hit this origin line, which is made by the last 2 highs of this asset, it might be a good idea to take Pokemon card profits at that point. So I would say breakout for this around the middle of the month, September 15th to 19th, something to that effect. I think it's going to have to chill out for a while. All right. TRIAS. Oh yeah, I saw something on TRIAS earlier today that I shared with my crypto crackheads and my VIPs with very specific sell targets, which I took off of here before making this video. Okay, so I do want to share this though. If you are a TRIAS fan, I do strongly recommend using the 12-hour 55 for educational purposes only and entertainment. So when you use a longer EMA of a shorter-ish time frame, like the 12 up here where my cursor is, when you use, so the 55 is bigger than 10, right? Instead of the 10 EMA, so I'm using a bigger EMA, a smaller time frame than the daily. Relative to the daily, if you put it on the 12-hour chart but have the 55 EMA, you're essentially looking at the daily chart with the 21 EMA, but the benefit to that is you can react faster because you're seeing the chaos within the daily candles, because every day gets 2 candles, and the indicators move faster, but not so fast where they give you too many false signals. All right. So for example, there was hesitation, and it's basing right off of what might be considered, you know, the middle of the neutral zone, and it looks like it wants the indicator here, which is the Stokes. It looks like it wants to give a push into the bullish control zone, and soon. That type of movement at the top middle, probably where you have a lot of other activity, which actually you do. So you see how these spikes here are all hitting the line, and even the spikes down. See that spike down, spike down? This one went past it. Spike up, spike down. So it got above it, is basing off of it. It looks like it wants to push. And when the Stokes are doing that, Stokes usually move pretty fast, and we're on the 12-hour chart. This could start moving tomorrow. Let's see what the RSI is saying on the 12-hour. Yeah, honestly, this is perfect. I would have liked to have seen, I would be a little bit more confident with this push tomorrow-ish had this white line, which is the EMA, cross this neutral line. What I really like to see, and my community knows this pretty well, and it just works perfectly, and a lot of them pointed out to me, hey, this did that, and look, it worked out perfectly, is a lot of times the RSI, the green stuff, will come down and check it as the white line. This white line here crosses that white line. I like to see RSI bring it up to that white line, then check it, and then keep going. However, it's pretty close. It should be fine. It's just, it removes a tiny bit of confidence in a bullish move very soon. It almost looks like it might want to do one more, then come down and check it, and then blast off, which could take you 3 days out in the future instead of tomorrow. So between 1 and 3 days is probably what I'm looking at here, assuming Bitcoin stays strong. However, I totally freaking forgot to tell you why the 55 EMA is so good, because it's getting things perfectly. So you see how it based, so you see how these moves happened exactly as price got above the 55 EMA, which is almost exactly like the daily 21. Tested it, failed. Tested it, failed. Kablam, based off of it. Kablam, based off of it. Sort of kablam, based off of it for longer, which gave it the ability to kablam, kablam, even bigger, boom, bada bing, because it based a little long. So I would actually assume all of this is a base after these pops. So these pops were essentially kind of like the smoke coming out of an active volcano before the eruption is what you're seeing here. And it based off of this line. So the longer it based, the bigger the pop. Now, the pretty bullish thing about TRIAS here, which I already let my community know, I think it might make my sell targets too low here, is that the idea that once it crossed it, generally bad, rejection, rejection, generally bad under it, right? But once it got above, look what happened again. Exactly when it crossed it, kaboom, based off almost it, kabloom. And since it didn't base, what happened? The pop was smaller. And when the pop was smaller, it said, ooh, wait, I'm out of gas. Let me go base back up and fill up, which should be similar to the 12-hour hitting the red line, which look, or the 12-hour RSI, look, it actually did hit the red line perfectly. And this is kind of like filling up the gas tank when something's consolidating, right? Now, when you get the daily down here, that means you're tanking, but the 12-hour, it's kind of cool. It doesn't mean you're tanking, it means you're consolidating healthily. And that's the 12-hour chart's really kind of cool, folks. You use the indicators in slightly different ways, and I don't know, it's a neat chart for pretty much any asset, but on TRIAS, it's working perfectly. This is the chart to be using for your Pokemon TRIAS cards. So you can see here, you didn't base, and the pump was lower, not quite as aggressive. So it came down and based, which means this next pump could be almost as aggressive as the last time it based off of it right down here. And that was a 300% move. I don't know if it's going to be quite that. That would probably be breaking all-time highs. All-time highs is only 226. So I won't give exact sell targets, but I kind of just gave you some pretty strong hints there. It might end up moving like one of the other two assets that I just covered, honestly. It's probably going to, so relative to its all-time high. So this is essentially, you know, a couple weeks behind the other two assets relative to this line, which is its all-time high. But it might race up there, folks. It might. Earlier I was thinking I was taking profits a little sooner than that, but this 12-hour 55 chart is making me think otherwise. This could be a pretty nice spot. And I want to be very clear, out of the three assets that I've covered today, I do own this one. And I want to be very frank with you. And so a lot of YouTubers are known to, you know, talk about a coin, you know, pump people up and they dump it on them. So I want to be very clear, and my community actually knows this perfectly. I post oftentimes exactly where my sell stuff, like I take a picture of my KuCoin, right? Of all my sell orders. And I probably have 150 limit sells, which cannot dump price. You have to market sell to dump price, right? You have to market sell. So my all these breaking up my the money that I have in here actually creates liquidity so that it can rise. So I want to be very specific with a couple things. First, I do own this asset. I am trying to trade it. However, the way that I sell it is through limit sells typically. And if I end up market selling, I will follow up with that, particularly to my community. And I usually let them know first. I put out a post and then I'll wait a few minutes and then I would market sell. But at this time, I have I put in like 30 minutes of time putting in my limit cells. So now that I said that, I probably have to own up and post that to my community. So I'm going to have to do that after I get off here. So at least they can confirm that. And if you want to see that for yourself, you can go ahead and I think it's going to be for, actually that's going to be for the whole community since this is a community coin. I typically only share that stuff with my VIPs and crackheads. So if you want to check that kind of stuff out, description section, go ahead and check it out. That's all I got for you. But make sure you take a second to hit like and subscribe. Do what the sign says. Stop, drop, do what the sign says. And if you do subscribe because you're new and you like this content, let me know if you want to be a CRYPTILIAN or a crypto crackhead. Those are the two gender neutral pronouns that we use within the community. We'll catch y'all later. If I can figure out how to get the heck off this video.